Shares were mostly lower as investors wait for Thursday's meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The Federal Reserve will almost certainly cut its key interest rate tomorrow and could signal it expects another cut in December as the central bank seeks to increase hiring. A small plane crashed in Kenya's coastal region of Kwale earlier today while en route to Masai Mara National Reserve. Officials say 12 people are believed to be dead. Kwale County Commissioner Stephen Orinde told the Associated Press that the passengers were all foreign tourists and their nationalities would be confirmed later. Meanwhile, Israel's prime minister is back in court facing charges that include allegations of fraud. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrives in court to continue his testimony in his ongoing corruption trial. He's the first sitting Israeli leader to take the stand as a criminal defendant. Netanyahu's answering during his court appearances to charges of fraud, breach of trust and accepting bribes in 3 separate cases. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Hurricane Melissa is forecast to make landfall in Jamaica today as a Category 5 storm. Hours before, the Jamaican government said it had done all it could to prepare as it warned of catastrophic damage. More information on Hurricane Melissa at apnews.com. This is AP News. Republicans are facing voter frustration over rising healthcare premiums. AP's Lisa Dwyer has more.
While notices of rising health insurance premiums are landing in voters' mailboxes, sending some to town halls to vent their frustration as they face losing their health care coverage due to skyrocketing premiums as subsidies expire, Republicans are doubling down on their efforts to oppose the Affordable Care Act. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
You know that it is subsidizing bad policy.
Democrats say that expired tax credits that kept costs lower should be extended and are refusing to reopen the government until they are. Republicans say they want a broader overhaul of the healthcare system. Johnson says,
It's because it's very complicated to fix. But Republicans have a long list of ideas.
However, no clear plan has yet been presented in writing.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see partial sunshine developing here for today, a high around 60 degrees. Winds out of the east around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 45. Wednesday, sunny skies, high 56 degrees and breezy. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 46.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives. Chins up and shoulders back. Yes, it's time to fight. Welcome to the October 28th. We're almost there. Halloween. Thriller. 2020. October 28th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, heartlandsignal.com, and YouTube. You can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. Got a lot of responses to the Substack I just posted. It's about Canada. So go check it out and tell me what you think. In any event, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews. Check out my podcast there. There's a lot of great content. And, of course, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Miss Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath. And, of course, all of our shows like Out Chicago and our other great interviews that we have there. And that's the reason we say every day, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. We are loaded up with great clips there. I was trying to decide which one am I going to possibly use this morning. And I just said, stop, don't try it because there's too many. Then they're all great ones. From interviews that Patty's done, that Joan's done, and I've done. And then some other clips from around the country that you guys want to check out. One in particular that I thought I had to put the brakes on this one too, Devin. This one there from U.S. Representative in Pennsylvania, Scott Perry, basically signing off on this loan to Argentina while disapproving of the beef deal to help farmers in our own country. So guys, make your way over there to check out our work at heartlandsignal.com, our digital news platform. Great stuff. Got a clip that I talked to you guys about yesterday that we're going to play. Our guest today, to keep it moving forward, because we are busy, which is a great thing. Stacy Davis Gates will be with us today in the 7 o'clock hour. And in the 6:30 hour, we'll be talking with a gentleman that's part of the World War II's 80th anniversary and our presence when it comes to astronomy, nuclear physics, and all the rest. So it'll be good to chat with him. His name is Rocky Cole, and I came across his information. I came across what he's been doing, and I thought, I'm trying to put a couple of different things in the mix, but also tie it to where we are currently as a community. And then in the 7:30 hour, bouncing around a little bit, is a founder and owner of the owner operator of 40 Acres Fresh Market, which is a fresh market business right here in good old Chicago. Liz Abunaw will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So Liz is going to give you a place to go and spend some of your money if you're here in Chicago. Or if you're coming to Chicago and you want to do something different, or go to a local special business, we'll talk about that and the importance of food security for not only our city but for the rest of the country. But right now, check this out, progressives.
You got the Supreme Court talking about getting rid of the Voting Rights Act, and that's very real.
Yeah.
That may likely happen in just a matter of months. I mean, they're rewriting history, censoring historical facts. It's an unbelievable moment. All this anti-woke stuff is just anti-black.
Mm-hmm.
Period, full stop. All the CRT, ESG, DEI stuff, that's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's this great purge, and it's happening in real time. And I'm sitting here, and I feel like, luckily I'm governor, but like we're not doing enough. Right. We're not calling this out. We're not drawing a line here. And again, it's not about Democrats or Republicans. Mm-mm. It's about who we
right and
are,
wrong.
Man. Yeah, right and wrong. Daylight and darkness.
Yeah. So Gavin Newsom, again, I told you guys I would probably be playing a couple of clips of his this week. He was on the podcast All the Smoke, and he calls it out for what it actually is. We could play it again if you missed it, or I'll send it to you. I've been saying this for a long time. This is a retribution tour by this administration to take away support systems for many people in our country, millions of people. Do you know over a million jobs have been lost since Trump took office? Over 1 million jobs. But yet, we still have people out here whispering in the corner. I don't know. I said, it's a problem. He's really been, but I can't say it out loud. Well, then shut the heck up then. Stop whispering. I hate, Devin, there's a couple things that I really, that irk me. And that's one of them. When I hear people say that the politician or the business leader or whomever says it in private, but they won't say it in public. That is so awful to do. That you're going to say it in private, but you won't say it in public, because you're deceiving yourself. You're really lying to yourself. I'm going to tell this story in part because I'm going to pretend. So anyhow, kudos to Governor Newsom, again, saying it out loud. All this anti-woke stuff is just anti-black, period, full stop. That's the quote. And that's the truth. It's also anti-LGBTQ. It's anti anything other than quote unquote, straight white Christian male in America. That's what it is. So I appreciate the guys on All the Smoke for having him on. And we may have one or two others for the rest of the week. But there you go. I just wanted to keep you guys alive with that one. We're going to take a little bit earlier break today because I promised you a clip that we would play that's a little bit longer than our normal clips, but it talks about the congressional Democrats and what they're doing, or what they came to Chicago last week to do. So we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. If you have children, they are always going to be your special bundle of joy. And if they're a newborn baby, you want to make sure what's best for them. So here are the best baby product companies that support the Democratic Party. Procter & Gamble. Now, Procter & Gamble owns Luvs, Pampers, and All Good. In 2024, Procter & Gamble gave $599,000 to the Democratic Party, 61% of their donations. Procter & Gamble supports the Democratic Party. Kirkland Diapers. Now, Kirkland Diapers are owned by First Quality. And First Quality does not give to politics, but their employees do, and their employees lean slightly to the left, as $50,000 are donated to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Welcome to this shadow hearing titled Kidnapped and Disappeared, Trump's Assault on Chicago. With 19 members of Congress here from all over the country, this is the largest act of congressional immigration oversight since Trump took office.
Right now, my community is under assault by our United States government. Federal officers raided my community of 57 years, Little Village, and detained U.S. citizens, street vendors, and stormed a laundromat and handcuffed parents in front of their children.
As a Chicago resident myself, I know firsthand the terror DHS and ICE seek to instill in us. Our residents have been surveilled, they have been threatened, they've been tear gassed, they've been hit with pepper balls, they've been shot, they've been subjected to warrantless arrests, and kidnapped and disappeared.
The helicopter coming in the dead of night is in my district, the 2nd Congressional District. The car accident was also in my district.
We are unified around the concept that immigrants have rights, rights that must be respected, rights that must be protected.
There's no doubt these immigration enforcement actions have made our communities less safe. Instead of targeting individuals with violent criminal convictions, the Trump administration is choosing to disappear people off the streets and zip tie children together in the middle of the night.
The detention of green card holders, of TPS recipients, and even U.S. citizens. The deployment of the National Guard on cities that have not asked for it to come in.
I am so proud of the people of the state of Illinois and all across the country who are fighting back. The people are not going to sit around and just let Trump and his people go after us.
What we've seen here in Illinois, and not just in Chicago, but in the suburban communities that I represent, has been nothing short of an assault on our state's autonomy and our families' safety and peace of mind.
On Monday, I had a Know Your Rights event at Lane Tech, and a young lady there, 16 years old, in a wheelchair, a cancer patient, whose father was picked up last Saturday because he was working extra hours to pay her medical bills.
The promise of America says you do belong and I belong. And to anybody who's watching out there and who's watching this federal government say to you effectively you don't belong, don't believe them. And we are here to fight to make sure that America lives up to its promise and you can live your life to its fullest.
We're talking about lawless people that are going around with no warrants or anything, and it's all about rounding people up and disappearing them.
Fifth Amendment says that every American, not every American, everybody within our borders has a right to due process. 14th Amendment says that everybody has afforded equal protection under the law. The Fourth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, no unlawful search and seizure. You can't be detained, cruel and unusual punishment.
When the agents of the federal government conduct raids in our nation's cities without due coordination with local authorities, when they detain or harass citizens and lawful residents alike under the guise of immigration enforcement, we are not witnessing the rule of law. We are watching its betrayal.
What we have heard is shocking. Right now, Chicago is a place of widespread fear, chaos, and lawlessness. But it is masked and armed federal agents who have brought that fear, chaos, and lawlessness.
I've heard a lot those last few days, and the words that keep recurring are fear, disruption, chaos.
Chicago is our backyard. The apartment building where the Black Hawk landed is an apartment building across the United States. We should not think, well, it's not happening in our backyard.
Thank you for being willing to come here and tell us exactly what's going on, because I can tell you our constituents are enraged too. They're enraged by what this government is doing in our name.
As someone who was born in Lincoln Park and grew up across the city of Chicago, including the South Side and Bronzeville, I can tell you that I know this city's strength, and I am seeing it here today with this panel.
We're going to stand up.
So there's so many things that go through my mind every time I listen to this. But I think probably the number one thing is unity and coming together. I talked a little bit about yesterday one of the biggest, strongest things, I think, most impactful things that Democratic elected officials can do right now are things like this: showing up collectively in communities, whether it be here in Chicago because of ICE and federal agents and all the horrible things that these agents are doing to citizens or to folks that are just trying to move their life forward and go forward every day, or if it's in a smaller community and they don't really care. When we hear voters say we want the politicians to listen to us, and then you hear politicians, elected officials say, particularly Democratic ones, when I've asked this question, what are some of the solutions and what are the things that you want to do? And they say, go to the people or listen to the people. This is an example. Now, I know this was, at City Hall and it was in the confines of that, but them coming to the area, I think means something. I think it can be a template for other ways of messaging to people that don't think that our elected officials are listening or hearing them. I could be wrong. You guys could think I'm way off base on this. But I think more of this sort of unity needs to be seen by everyday voters, because there's a couple of things that are out there. And one of them is that the Democratic Party is splintered and not working together. And whether that's true or not, or accurate or even partially accurate, it's out there. So sometimes it can be out there and be a doggone lie or be hugely inaccurate. This is, again, doing their best to take control of the narrative and the message and bringing this sort of shadow hearing to Chicago. Do it in Portland. Do it in Los Angeles. Get out of D.C. and get out to see people in the communities all over the country. Maybe that's the head of how I'm putting this, or the top of how I'm putting this. If I'm, building a strategy, make this part of the strategy. And I've said versions of this before. 10, 15, 20 of the 216, 17, 18 Democratic members go to places in the country in groups of 10. Pick 20 cities and divide it by 10, or go and then take the message to those communities and get good at it, because the Republicans aren't doing that. When I talk, and the reason for me saying it this way is it kind of comes back to what I said about going into communities, where we're going into red districts, whether it be the federal elected officials or state, go into the other districts and let them know that we are here and we are listening and our ideas are better. And I take this and retrofit it in terms of this shadow hearing and say, divide up the players and go to different areas. I mean, it ain't rocket science. And so I'm not complaining or hating on the Democratic Party or Democratic representatives. I'm trying to find ways forward. I'm trying to say this is what we need to be doing. Use the resource of people, the team, to get out and get the message in front of the people that need it the most. And those are the American voters. Find out who those 89 million people are that didn't vote in this last general election and get messages to them to get them back in the game. Talk about it from the perspective of that, not only what to vote against, but what to vote for. And this was just, when I saw this, I was encouraged to see that these representatives were in Chicago at the end of last week and part of the weekend to have this kind of conversation. So, how do we try to get this in play? Well, next week when we talk to, as you guys know, next week is going to be candidates week, and we'll have 8 to 10 candidates on through the course of the week. We may squeeze in a couple more, just depends on scheduling. But one of the things that I'm going to mention to hopefully every single candidate, whether they be current in office and running for another office, or they're not in office and they're running for an office, is the use of our teams of players. All of our players means all of our players getting out into the community, getting out into the areas where people didn't vote or where voter turnout was low. And I think this is a tool that we can use to our advantage. So there you go. That's what I wanted to say in that space. All right. If you guys want that clip, just email me and I'll send it to you. 19 members of Congress, Democratic members of Congress, to conducting oversight of Trump and ICE. And so they can repeat this in another community in terms of conducting oversight. They can use the same strategy to talk about what they're going to be doing for Americans and not just hating on Trump, which he should be hated on. But there you go. I'll send it to you if you want it. You know my email is richard@wcpt820.com, and I'll get it to you, and then you can pass it on to other people when the question is asked, what are Democrats doing? And I know there's going to be people out there that are saying, yeah, but they're not doing this. And I get it. There's always going to be somebody that loves the sound of the keyboard clacking when they're typing out one of their anger texts or their anger emails. And that's fine. That's part of the deal with me, and, bring it on. But to that end, I'll get it to you guys if you'd like. All right. Let's see. Let's grab a quick call, because then we're going to go to break, because then we've got our guest at 6:30. Let's grab a quick call from Jim. Hey, Jim, good morning. Welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. The Republicans have given up all pretense of the will of the people. They've given it up completely. They're gerrymandering. They're squeezing every seat they possibly can. And then you've got Johnson, who's got enough nerve. Not only do they want one-party rule, but they want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act as fast as they can, because they want to line the pockets of the insurers. They can't do it at a fast enough rate. They want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He said it this morning. We've got a better plan. Well, I can tell you this. I'm 75 years old. I've never seen a Republican health care plan. Have you ever seen one, Rich?
Not on a federal level, no, that I can recall.
Well, at any level. I've never seen one on any level.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Republican even mention health care.
Not in a way that's broad reaching for the people of that area. Correct.
Yeah. Well, all right. What about Medicare? Who passed Medicare?
It wasn't the Republicans.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
No, good points, Jim. Really, really good points.
Anyway, good morning. Take care.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Bye now. That's a standard, though. How do I want to put this? Any of the good broad-based policies that have been put in place for more Americans, or most of Americans, have been really put in place by Democratic leadership. That's on a federal level particularly. That's a fact. And, this is one of those moments where Democrats give to the country politically, socially, and Republicans take away. That's consistently what's happened. They take away from everyday folk and they give to the wealthiest corporations and wealthiest individuals. And this is one of those things where I'm going to say this as quickly as I can. Sometimes common sense has got to take over. And you have to press pause and say, this doesn't make any sense. Unless you are, as I've said so many times before, just caught up in the four legs of the stool: racism, sexism, misogyny, and misogyny / Christian nationalism and privilege. I put those two together to create the four. And that is this. How could you not see? Because, see, now we got so many people, and I wonder how many millions of people that voted for Donald Trump and voted for the Republicans in this last election on all levels, sat back and said, allowed themselves to believe the garbage that came out of all of their mouths. All of their mouths. How many of those people are sitting back? I'd love to get a number of the people that are sitting back, and how many of those are people that have lost their jobs, that sat back and convinced themselves that their ideas were better. And to kind of take a point of what Jim was just saying about, healthcare. How many people now that are going to be at the tipping point of losing their medical coverage and the support systems that go along with that voted for this? And what did they really, really, really in their minds allow themselves to be convinced of? Because if they used common sense, then there's no way in hell, period, that they could have said that this guy's going to do a better job. And now, here we are. So, thanks to the Democrats that came into Chicago, the 19 last week, decided they were going to hold these shadow hearings. More of it, I think, is a good thing. It's certainly not a bad thing. More of that, and in ways that I described of using that sort of strategy, I think is a good way for more Democrats to be acting and performing and presenting right now. But we're going to take a break because we've got to get ready for our first guest this morning. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Cannabis use disorder is increasing rapidly in the United States, especially among those over age 65, according to Professor Danielle Haley from the Boston University School of Public Health.
Cannabis use disorder is a clinical diagnosis, and what it means is that your cannabis use has progressed to a place where you are experiencing negative physical or psychosocial consequences related to your use, but continue to use cannabis despite those negative consequences.
Dr. Haley says current treatment options are limited.
There are no FDA-approved medications for the treatment of cannabis use disorder. There are some behavioral approaches, like, for instance, cognitive behavioral therapy, but the benefits of those are modest.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see partial sunshine developing here for today, a high around 60 degrees. Winds out of the east around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 45. Wednesday, sunny skies, high 56 degrees and breezy. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 47.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for listening to that clip. I will get it to you if you'd like to have it, and share it with folks that you think will benefit from it. He's a recipient of the Arthur Holly Compton Distinguished Service Professor of Astronomy and Astrophysics. That's a lot. At the University of Chicago. And, like I said, you guys, I really want to, over the next few weeks, kind of drop something on you that might be not our normal conversations, but certainly part of the broader conversation about some of the great things that we are doing. And we're coming up on the 80th anniversary of World War II's end and University of Chicago's role in nuclear history. With us this morning is Edward, also known as Rocky Kolb. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT. I hope you're doing well this morning.
Good morning, Richard. I'm doing well.
Good.
How about you?
I'm doing really well. It's good to have you on. I think my father would probably be very, very excited to listen to you this morning because he was, he'd be 107 years old, I think, now if he were still alive. But he was one of those guys that really kind of was plugged in. He was part of, living during World War II. And he recognizes the importance, our role in that global conflict. But your experience and your take is really as someone that's a scientific practitioner when it comes to our nuclear history. And I'm really excited to have you on and chat a little bit about this upcoming work and certainly what's going on with the work at Guarneri Hall. Talk to us a little bit about our 80th anniversary of World War II and University of Chicago's role in nuclear history.
Good. Well, Guarneri Hall is having two events on November 5th and November 4th. Guarneri Hall is a small concert venue in the Loop on 11 East Adams. Small being it seats maybe 60 people. And there's going to be a combination of musical interludes and some discussion led by professors from the University of Chicago. On November 4th, my colleague Paul Post from the Political Science Department at the University of Chicago will share reflections on the scale of displacement wrought by the Second World War. This is what happens after the Second World War. And on November 5th, there'll be a program that I will speak in called Remembrance. And Remembrance will highlight the horrors of war, and in particular, the way it ended, the horrors of the nuclear weapons used to end the war. And Remembrance, I think, is an appropriate title because we should keep this in the front of our mind, that these terrible things have happened and they could happen again. The world has a lot of nuclear weapons, and even in the past couple of years, there's been loose talk about using nuclear weapons to do this or to do that. Mm-hmm. So remembrance is, I think, the appropriate thing. We should not forget.
I have always been fascinated around this conversation because, and again, I think for me, in part, I saw it through the lens of my father. And then I started to develop my own thinking and thoughts around it. But how much development, not so much how much development, my question really, Rocky, is there were other countries moving down the path of developing a nuclear warhead or delivery system. And we accelerated that as a tool. Talk a little bit about that. I think a lot of people forget about the fact that there were other countries in the 40s that were doing or developing a weapon like this. But tie that into, if you can, Chicago's place in that world occurrence.
Sure. Well, in the 1930s, it was realized by many scientists that nuclear weapons would be possible. And Japan had a small program, but Nazi Germany seriously had a program to develop nuclear weapons. And before the Second World War, Germany in physics led the world. It wasn't even close. The best physicists were in Germany. Now, luckily for us, many of them left because they were Jewish or didn't like the political situation in Germany, and many of them came to the U.S. from all over Europe. And that helped us a lot. And it was a enormous undertaking in the U.S. It involved several labs: Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, Hannaford Laboratory in Washington, and Oak Ridge Laboratory in Tennessee. All three of these laboratories are still around. And it took years to do. And in some sense, the nuclear age started at Chicago in 1942 when the Italian physicist Enrico Fermi came to the University of Chicago and built the first self-sustaining nuclear reactor on campus at the University of Chicago. So it seems rather strange to imagine a nuclear reactor in the middle of the city, but it was wartime. And there's this story that suddenly the president of the University of Chicago at the time, Robert Hutchinson, claimed not to know anything about what was going on. It was probably plausible deniability in case anything went wrong. But the nuclear age started at Chicago, and there's a Henry Moore sculpture marking the place in the 5700 block of South Ellis. And it's, it started in Chicago.
Yeah, I've been by that memorial literally hundreds of times, and I know exactly where you're talking about. A few weeks ago, Rocky, my wife and I were watching, kind of accidentally, this special on WTTW, PBS, talking about Chicago's role as a city, and really the Midwest, but specifically Chicago's role in not only the development of nuclear power, but also World War II at large. And once again, Chicago is got its hand on the pulse of some of the most important global events and changes that have taken place. And yes, I love the way you put it. Who would have thought that there'd be a nuclear reactor being
right
in one of the most famed universities on the planet, in one of the top 10 cities, top 5 cities in the world. But here we are, and that's kind of what's been some of the legend of Chicago. So
well,
go ahead.
Let me make clear. We have no plans to build another one on campus.
Well, okay, but see, Rocky, I'm going to believe you. But when the president of the university said years ago that we, so I don't know. I'm hoping and praying that type of power never ever has to ever be considered. I mean, be used. Unfortunately we have some folks that talk about it, and I'm not going to drag you down a political lane, but we do have people that are talking about it in a reckless manner. But here, that's why I hope and pray we never have to, that's something that never is acted upon ever again. So
there are very few people alive now who have seen a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
And, the power of it, the horror of it, it just stuck with people. Early in my career, I spent a couple of years at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico.
Yep.
And there I met some of the people who were around and had a hand in developing it in the Manhattan Project, developing the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project. And they were, to put it mildly, scarred for life.
Yeah.
And it's such unimaginable power. But people, it's just so distant from people now. So remembrance is a good title for this program at Guarneri Hall.
Yeah. I've been to Los Alamos probably a half a dozen times, and it is it's a stark reminder. It's educational as you can imagine it to be, but just the drive up. Once you get close, the feeling. You know what I'm talking about. You get taken back to whatever part of history you get taken back, and you go, wow, this place is it's awesome because of the magnitude of how it played out in our history. So if I can ask you this question about remembrance, when you're putting this together, what did it take? What were some of the things? I mean, I know you, being the scientist that you are, you've got so many things at your disposal, but what was it like creating kind of this message and this event for Guarneri Hall?
Right. Well, every year Guarneri Hall does an event like this, and they thought that it would be appropriate, since this is the 80th year since the end of the Second World War, to touch on that. And it really changed. Of course, it changed the world. And so that they put together musical interludes along with some discussion and comments. For instance, in the evening I will be speaking on November 5th, there's a piece by Shostakovich, who was a Russian composer, and Benjamin Britten, a British composer. They composed shortly after the Second World War, and their lives were touched, as so many people were by the Second World War. And, it's going to be a wonderful evening.
The place has been referred to by many as kind of one of the best kept secrets in Chicago. Almost got the feel of an old speakeasy in a very like you wouldn't even know it existed. Talk a little bit about that part as part of Chicago's history and lore in terms of these quiet speakeasy type places.
Right. Well, there's no password you need to get in. But it's next to a parking structure, and it's an unassuming entrance. But there are magical things that happen, and there are many such places like that: theater, small music venues in Chicago, where from the street you wouldn't think anything special is going on in there, but Chicago is many of those places, and it's one of the reasons I love living in Chicago. It's on 11th East Adams, and people have walked by it, I'm sure, many times and not noticed it.
Oh, yeah. I know I drive by it at least 2 times a week, and I know exactly where it is. But until I started kind of researching, what you've been doing and the work that you've been doing, and certainly this event, I honestly didn't know that it existed, and that's what kind of caught my eye. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we got to talk to him about this." Plus, I'm a little bit of a baby nerd when it comes to this conversation around Chicago's role in our role in world events, but particularly with World War II. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with Rocky Kolb. Rocky, thank you again for being with us. What took you down the path of science in this very specific area? What were some of those early influences, and why you decided that this is a direction you were going to go?
Well, I was interested in science from a young age, and I don't really remember why. There was a library not far from where I lived. I grew up in New Orleans, and before air conditioning, we didn't have air conditioning, and it was unbearably hot in the summer. And the only place in the neighborhood that I could go where it was cool was a little library, just a little neighborhood library. So I went in the neighborhood library to escape the summer heat and didn't have anything to do. So I started reading books. I wandered in the science section. And the librarian, who I remember is some very old librarian, of course, when you're 10, she might have been 30 years old, came and said, no, Sonny, this section isn't for you. This is science, and dragged me to the children's section. So science was forbidden. It was something that I should. So I had to, as soon as she wasn't looking, I would sneak in there and pull a book off the shelf. And then I started reading it and became interested in science. And my career took me to Los Alamos for a couple of years, and that was where, the bombs were assembled and built. And again, there were people there that I met who played large roles in building it. And, then I came to Chicago where things started with Fermi and the nuclear reactor on campus. So it's been part of my life. I was also on the board of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, which was formed in Chicago, and still very active, calling people's attention to the dangers of nuclear weapons.
Do you think that, well, I don't know if this is really the right way to ask this question, but with the amount that we have of nuclear weapons, do you think that we're more susceptible to an accident or to an intentional discharge or use of a nuclear weapon?
I think accident is a real concern. And there have been maybe 4 or 5 events over the past history where it's come very close to an accidental launch of weapons. And one of the most famous was in 1983, I believe it was. The Soviets at the time had just started a new early warning system, and there was a failure in this early warning system, and they sent out an alert that the U.S. had launched nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles toward the Soviet Union. And if the person who got this alert had followed procedure, he would have called it up the line, and who knows what would have happened. But this person, he saved the world by thinking, well, maybe this isn't true. His name was Petrov. And he didn't send the alert up the line. And once these things start rolling, it gets to people, the politicians in charge of things. Who knows what would have happened? And there are a couple of events like that. Fail-safe sometimes fails.
Wow. Well, Rocky, I was talking about this earlier in terms of the importance of common sense. And I was talking about it, frankly, from a political and social standpoint. But in this moment, it seems as though we weren't there, but it seems as though his common sense may have been a little bit smarter than the technologies that he would have been relying on to make a decision to press pause or to go forward. That's my interpretation. You and I weren't there, but it feels like his instincts, maybe as even a better word, kicked in versus technology.
Or I would say his humanity kicked in.
Okay.
I assume he realized what could have happened, where this could have led.
Yeah.
And I'm also old enough to slightly remember the Cuban Missile Crisis and how frightened my parents were.
Yeah.
Halloween is coming up. I remember it must have been 1962 and 1963. For the first time ever, my mother told me I could eat all the candy I wanted.
Wow.
Because she thought the world was going to end.
Well, a movie that I really appreciate that I think folks should watch if they really want to see some of the sort of the Hollywood of this conversation is 13 Days. That really gets into the conversation around how close we got then in the 60s with Kennedy and Khrushchev and all the rest. So I think it's well done. I don't think it's overplayed from a Hollywood standpoint. It's pretty factually representative, and it's a movie that's about 25 years old now, but it speaks to this.
I agree. It's not overplayed, and you can imagine it's very easy to overplay a possible end of the world.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Rocky, there's so many questions that I could ask you about so many things in this space, but I want to ask you some that are probably right in your lane, and this is one that a couple that came to mind for me. Where is the center of the universe, Rocky?
Well, Chicago, of course.
That's right here in good old Chicago. And then is there intelligent life elsewhere?
Well, my usual response is are you sure there's intelligent life here? But actually, to answer your question, there is no center to the universe, and there's no edge to the universe. One of the things that's a concept that's very difficult to get across when I teach or give public lectures is that the Big Bang is not an explosion of galaxies into space. Rather, it's an explosion of space itself. Space is emerging and growing between all the galaxies. So imagining an explosion without a center is something that's difficult to do. It's a difficult concept to get across, especially before 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, but it's been what you've done and the way in which you've presented information from everything that I've read about you. You really worked hard to kind of put it into bite-sized pieces for people that want to know more and want to be able to participate in this very complicated, highly technical, scientific area, but in a way that everyone can appreciate. And I think that the musical, the work that you guys are going to be doing at Guarneri Hall is important. And two of the words that stick with me the most are remembrance and resilience. And I'm really, really happy that you're going to be able to explore some of those themes from a hopeful perspective and a cautionary perspective at the same time. Let our listeners know one more time when and where this will be held in terms of this 2025 80th anniversary of the end of World War II.
Sure. It will be October 4th and October 5th, Guarneri Hall, 11 East Adams. And there's a website, of course, Guarneri Hall, GuarneriHall, guarnerihall.org. And you can go there for information about these events, tickets, and information about other events. Again, it's a wonderful little place, and people should support it.
Absolutely. Rocky, thanks for being with us. We look forward to hearing from you again after this event, and we'll work hard to get you back on the show and talk about other things that you're working on and keep our listeners informed outside of our normal political conversation, but just everyday importance when it comes to science. So thanks for being with us, Rocky. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dev, let's take a quick tiny break. I know we're getting to the top of the hour. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different.
Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Here's the tale of the Daily Medfill. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap Good RX, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. The deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little app does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
WCPT Replay.
Very happy to welcome John Fugelsang back to our airwaves.
The history of America is that we're the only nation where our Christianity is completely entwined with white supremacy. No other country on earth has that history but us. The entire history of America are these revoltingly horrible, toxic Christians pushing slavery, pushing segregation, but the flip side is there's always the other Christians, the ones who follow Jesus and their allies, non-Christians and atheists, the liberal Christians, who have pushed back. When the Christians were doing segregation, it was a Baptist minister, Martin Luther King, who used the scriptures to shame these guys. Throughout the whole history of this country, Christians have just fought for the most evil policies, and Christ followers and their allies have always had to beat back the toxic Christians.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You've still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it hard to fight the flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Hurricane Melissa is forecast to make landfall in Jamaica today. The powerful storm has reached Category 5 strength. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness says people are preparing for the hardship ahead.
Gathered as prayer warriors, as many have done, to pray for our nation.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the remains of a hostage returned by Hamas overnight are body parts of a hostage who was recovered in Gaza by Israeli troops almost 2 years ago. Hamas says it's struggling to locate the bodies amid the destruction in Gaza, but Israel accuses the militant group of purposely delaying their return. President Trump is in Japan, where he met with the country's newly elected Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. Takaichi must solidify her relationship with Trump while defending her country's economic interests. One idea being floated by Japan's government is to buy a fleet of American Ford F-150 trucks. It's day 28 of the government shutdown, and Republicans are facing voter frustration over rising healthcare premiums. AP's Lisa Dwyer has more.
While notices of rising health insurance premiums are landing in voters' mailboxes, sending some to town halls to vent their frustration as they face losing their health care coverage due to skyrocketing premiums as subsidies expire, Republicans are doubling down on their efforts to oppose the Affordable Care Act. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
You know that it is subsidizing bad policy.
Democrats say that expired tax credits that kept costs lower should be extended and are refusing to reopen the government until they are. Republicans say they want a broader overhaul of the healthcare system. Johnson says,
It's because it's very complicated to fix. But Republicans have a long list of ideas.
However, no clear plan has yet been presented in writing. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
This is AP News. India is trying to clear New Delhi's smog by using a cloud seeding technique. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has the story.
Indian authorities have conducted a cloud seeding experiment over New Delhi to induce rainfall and clear the city's toxic air. A plane sprayed chemicals into clouds on Tuesday to encourage rain and wash pollutants from the air, which remains in the very poor category. Cloud seeding has been used in drought-prone regions, but experts say its effectiveness is uncertain. Delhi Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa says the trial lasted nearly 30 minutes, with more planned for the coming days. Critics argue that long-term solutions are needed to reduce pollution rather than temporary measures like cloud seeding. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More on this and other stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see partial sunshine developing here for today, a high around 60 degrees. Winds out of the east around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 45. Wednesday, sunny skies, high 56 degrees and breezy. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 46.
Stephanie Miller.
I get to say my favorite sentence in the entire world. Here comes Kathy Griffin, hero of democracy. Hello.
How are we going to do this? Because I know we're both going to want to talk at the same time because it's a love fest. I am so in love with you. You are so important and wonderful and funny and brilliant, and you are who I aspire to be.
No, you.
When I grow up, I want to be you.
No, you. No, you.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
Experience two iconic operas in one unforgettable night at Lyric Opera of Chicago. Cavalleria Rusticana and Pagliacci, November 1st to 23rd. Don't miss world-renowned tenor Russell Thomas as the tormented clown in Pagliacci, in an operatic pairing where passion, betrayal, and raw emotion take center stage. Just 8 performances. Tickets at lyricopera.org.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
Hi, I'm Marcel Spears. Keeping our global neighborhood safe is a tough job, one made just a bit safer with the help of America's brave military dogs. These dogs, who often take the same risks and make the same sacrifices as our human warriors, keep our troops safe by sniffing out bombs and IEDs, locating enemy positions, and bringing a sense of comfort and home to an almost unimaginable circumstance. Yet, when these brave canine heroes retire, they're not always given the same treatment as our military VIPs, and are too often left overseas. American Humane works to bring home these valiant dogs and reunite them with the people who mean the most to them, their handlers, so they can enjoy happy, healthy, well-deserved retirements. To learn how you can help America's four-footed heroes, visit AmericanHumane.org.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. We took a little bit of an extended break there because we were getting all of our technology stuff squared away here. So we'll keep it moving forward. It was great talking with Rocky. I mean, I've had some interesting comments from people about having been around when we've seen the horrors of, or they've got family members who were around, I should say, according to a couple of messages that I've received, the horrors of nuclear warfare. So good to have him with us. And if you guys can make it to Guarneri Hall, if you're here in Chicago, you might want to check that out next week on the 4th and the 5th. So should be good. One of the things that he said, too, that was an interesting, that wasn't a setup question when I asked him where it's the center of the universe. But I did like his response being that it's Chicago. Right now, socially and politically, or certainly politically, one might put together a pretty good argument that this is the center of our political universe. With all that's happening with federal agents, with all that's happening with Trump directing his ire toward our great city. But we are shouldered up and standing strong. And that is something that I'm extraordinarily proud of with us here in this city. And we've got leaders who are showing their mettle, showing their strength. And one of those folks is CTU President Stacy Davis Gates, who's with us yet again. Good morning, Miss Gates, and welcome to the show. How are you doing today? I hope you're well.
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Got a big smile on my face. Just talked to a nuclear physicist about Chicago's impact in World War II and the 80th anniversary of World War II's ending. It was great talking with someone that I asked him this question. I said, and it was a scientific question, so it wasn't a setup. What's the center of the universe? And he said, well, Richard, where else other than Chicago? So
that's right.
I may have to clip that out and send that to Mayor Johnson and to Governor Pritzker, and I'll get a clip to you as well, just so you guys can have some reminders of how doggone hard you're working to make things better for people. I've said this, Ms. Gates, a number of times. You, Governor Pritzker, any of our state elected officials, Mayor Johnson, and the list goes on, are not in the role you're in to cause harm, to make things worse, to not succeed. So we need to give you guys some fair way to work within to get some things done. And I say that to you this morning because you have been leaning in hard to make sure that Chicago teachers and students and other, folks that are involved in labor and education are respected and being given the opportunity to succeed in the space that they're in. So talk a little bit about that. We'll get into some of the nuance about the recent upgrade, if you will, with the Illinois Federation of Teachers. But talk a little bit about why that's important to you, that people succeed in these spaces.
Well, first off, Richard, good morning, and thank you for having me. The Illinois Federation of Teachers was led by Dan Montgomery for 15 years. And I submit that Dan's leadership was the right leadership at the right time because he did a couple of things that give me an opportunity to lead boldly at IFT. Number one, he united our union from the geographies, the south to the north, the east to the west. We are a big union. We have over 100,000 members. And so we are united. We know we're rural, suburban, we're big cities, and we're all of the towns in between. So his job, his leadership in helping us see our power, I think was immeasurable. So that's one. And I think in two, he did a lot of work to make sure that we understood the power of organizing. We've done really good projects down south and in Peoria to connect with the community. So I come into a role that has the capacity to be even more impactful for our students across Illinois. And that's not just our pre-K through 12 students. It's also higher education because we represent university workers and professors as well. We also represent state workers. As you were talking about the state leaders who are doing some good work right now, I would love to lift up our workers in the Attorney General's office right now because AG Kwame Raoul is working double overtime to defend our Constitution. He can't do that alone. He does that with the workers represented by my union in his office. And I would say that even when we talk about progressive revenue and making sure that schools have what they need, higher education has what it needs, I would submit that the AG's budget probably needs to be supercharged at this point as well, because who budgets for, an invasion by the president of the United States?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, I would agree with you that if that office has more resources, I'll just use that word because sometimes people get frustrated when you say more money, but more resources to apply the law where it's needed, and it's needed in every county and zip code in the state of Illinois right now, given what the federal government is doing. I think it will provide people with some added certainty that they're protected, or at least they don't feel completely alone. So I agree with you on that, and not a lot of people are having the courage to say that, Stacy. And one of the things that I admire about you is your courage to say what needs to be said in the moment, and sometimes it ain't easy to hear. And I say it ain't easy to hear because I know that you've even said, I know what I'm saying is tough for people to accept, but I believe I'm saying your words. I believe it's what needs to be said and what we need to deal with right now. So I applaud that in you, and I want to ask you this kind of not tough question, but just one that I think is important. What's going to be the toughest thing about this added role, and what's going to be your kind of your North Star about this added role?
So let me start with the North Star, because honestly, everything's a challenge right now. You know, it is difficult to accountants, a city and a state that's experiencing masked men arresting teenagers walking to school. It really is difficult. That's like my biggest challenge right now. I'm a high school history teacher. As a high school history teacher, I understand the sequence that we're in and how quickly the sequence is materializing. I taught the Fugitive Slave Act, where slave catchers were unleashed on towns to do very much the same thing that they're doing right now all over the state of Illinois. I know the terror that that causes, and I also understand the massive distrust that impacts these institutions thereafter. People don't trust law enforcement. People don't trust government. People shy away from engaging with them. Look at Black people and police departments in any city, in any county in America right now. So I'm very troubled by the erosion of institutions that are supposed to be for the people, that are by the people, that are subsidized by the people. So I'm feeling that very deeply right now. And I think the opportunity that we have in this moment is to unite on issues of solidarity. That's the opportunity that I get to lead in right now. The Illinois Federation of Teachers represents everyone in the state, from north to south, east to west, from rural to big city. And we have an opportunity to show America, not just the state of Illinois, what it means to practice a solidarity that unites us, what it means to practice a solidarity that centers and anchors the well-being, the education of our young people, and what it means to hold up this idea of democracy and our responsibility in that project. So I feel enormous challenge because of the moment we're in right now. And I also feel enormous opportunity because I know that solidarity is powerful and it moves mountains.
You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with CTU President Stacy Davis Gates and the next leader of the Illinois Federation of Teachers. Thanks for being with us as always. As I said, I get myself ready to talk to you because I know you come ready when you talk to people. So I always want to make sure that our conversations are meaningful to our listeners. You said something that I wrote down last week as a point to make with you, and that is the U.S. benefit of this type of leadership in this moment that you're showing, that I would say that Mayor Johnson is showing, and other leaders in the state of Illinois are showing. And that is, this is what we have to do in this moment to protect our democracy. And the message that you're presenting here in Illinois is one that can be laid over in any other state in the country, and that's about protecting our citizens. You're starting there, it seems, that this is the first thing that has to happen. This first thing that we have to talk about is making sure that we come together as community and stand strong with each other and not waver in this moment. And you're sending out that vibe right now. How are the people around you receiving that?
Was a unanimous vote for my leadership at the Illinois Federation of Teachers. That gives me a lot of confidence in that the members of the Illinois Federation of Teachers want a leader that's proven to be able to unite, to organize, to fight, to clarify our demands. We've had, battle after battle in Chicago just for schools to be open. Rahm Emanuel closed 50 schools in 2013. Mayor Johnson is reopening schools and making them sustainable in 2025. These are things that our union has, marched for, rallied for, organized for, we've done sit-ins. So we understand the power of that solidarity in Chicago. And quite frankly, my siblings from all across the state understand that as well. So we're going to try to up the ante, that working people actually do get to have a word in how taxation works in the state of Illinois. My counterparts in the suburbs and downstate, they talk about property taxes being too high. Well, property taxes are high because billionaires are not paying their fair share. And the state of Illinois, ultra wealthy corporations are getting a free lunch. Meanwhile, children will start appearing in our school communities as early as in 2 weeks hungry because SNAP benefits have run out. They won't be able to go to the doctor because they don't have health care benefits anymore. All of these things will live in our classrooms, and lawmakers, society at large, will expect teachers, paraprofessionals, and clinicians to open up food pantries in their schools to feed young people. And they'll expect that because that's what we've done before, because they will do it again. And if the sustainability of this economy is built on the backs of educators who take a pass on salary and benefits and smaller class sizes and, children who are well fed, then our society will fail. So we are the canary in the coal mine, saying that number one, you can't continue to put the burden of this state on the backs of working people. We do our fair share, both in taxation and in the work we do, especially when we're under resourced in our school districts. So that's one. And then two, you have a whole bunch of billionaires who are receiving a tax break from the president at the expense of children who will not have food in their homes come November. And so these things are something that, number one, we have to say out loud. Number two, we have to challenge. And then number three, we have to resist. It is unfair categorically that my members both pay their property taxes. They are running food pantries. They are dealing with classrooms that do not have the supplies and the materials that are necessary. And then they're being told no by lawmakers when they ask for the necessary support that they need to keep things moving and the way that makes sense. So, we got to come correct. We got to figure out how we do this better and how we do this together. Because again, when the president of the United States declares war on the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, that's a rally around the flag moment for all of us. And I would submit that we have to rally.
There's no question about that. And I like the way that you put emphasis on that, and it leads to my next question. In terms of the federal government, the president of the United States, the GOP enacting war on the state of Illinois and Chicago, it may sound like a silly question, but I want to ask you, because I haven't asked you this question, why do you think that Donald Trump, the federal government, the GOP, are making Chicago and Illinois the target, the primary target of their immense power right now?
Well, because I think that Illinois is a functioning state. Like the mayor is not wrong and the governor is not wrong when they talk about what the city of Chicago is producing. So for instance, let's break out what's happening right now at the city level. Mayor Johnson is passing a budget, and that budget gives a $1 billion infusion to both schools, parks, and libraries. $1 billion worth of support. I think that's the largest contribution to all three of those institutions at one time in the history of the city. What does that mean in this moment? It means that Republicans who believe that banning books is the way forward just got a foil in Mayor Johnson's leadership, because he's saying libraries deserve more. As Linda McMahon is dismantling the Department of Education and leaving our special education students without the support and the protections that they need, it means that Mayor Johnson is saying, I got your back. As the education department is targeting queer and transgender children, as they are targeting Black children, Black history, Mayor Johnson is doubling down on his support for schools and public institutions. See parks. The GOP is dismantling public service, public goods to give billionaires a tax break. That's why he's declaring war on us, because we accept all. We are a sanctuary city, and thank God we're a sanctuary city. Do you know how beautiful Chicago is because we are a sanctuary city? That you can go to any corner of the city and experience rich cultures from all over the world that are anchored in Chicago. That's a foil to the type of far right wing white nationalist rhetoric that comes from the MAGA movement.
It is. And this is what I mean, folks, when I say that Miss Stacy Davis Gates says the things that might seem that wasn't hard for her to say. You guys realize that just came out because you got to believe she believes that and knows it's the truth. And so this is, and I appreciate you saying it that way, Stacy, because I want more regular, everyday folks to be able to speak that way about where we are. I think it's good for the soul, and it allows people to then act when they can say what's really happening without feeling that they've got to parse their words. I recognize a lot of folks don't or can't, but it's great to hear leaders speak this way in an unfiltered manner that speaks the truth to power and knows what the real truth is. So I really appreciate you explaining it out that way. It's important that people hear it that way. Here in Chicago, we have detractors, and oftentimes it comes from people who run for office and former office holders. And recently, Paul Vallis had something negative to say, which doesn't surprise me, about what you're trying to do. But in fact, candidly, he's not close to being accurate. What are your observations there?
He's flailing, and he's trying to find a place in Trump's America that makes it very clear that, pseudo Democrats like him do not get, a voice in that. He like Rahm Emanuel are finding a hard time to live in this world because their brand of politics were the vehicles, quite frankly, to accelerate this moment. Democrats have got to figure out how to be for something. They have to figure out how to lift up a way of life, a way of moving in this society that is more unified and anchored and centered in what people need. Affordability is a big deal right now. Again, I go back to this conversation about property taxes, because you hear people talk about their property taxes in Illinois. What we should be hearing about is people talk about how their property taxes in Illinois are a burden because the wealthy don't pay their fair share in Illinois. And the state of Illinois overly burdens homeowners with lifting up schools and public service. That should be the conversation. But when you have people like Rahm Emanuel and Paul Vallis muddying up that discussion for rich people, you don't get to have that discussion and its true authenticity. So what I'm saying is that Donald Trump has done one thing very sharply, is that he's removed the middle ground. There's no more gray area. You're either going to fight for working class, middle class Americans, or you're going to not do that. And right now, Donald Trump is not doing that. In fact, he's declared war on us. And by declaring war on us, we have to have another image, another vision of what this democracy can produce. And so those billionaires who are getting breaks at the expense of children who will be hungry, and their parents work. Don't let this rhetoric from the right fool you. Their parents work at Walmart. Their parents work at Target. Their parents work at McDonald's. And our government subsidizes those wealthy corporations because those families are on SNAP. They subsist on SNAP benefits while collecting a paycheck. This is how upside down our economy is right now, that you can work a job, that you can work two jobs, and that you still qualify for government subsidy. That's wrong. And so what we have to do is compel these ultra-rich corporations to pay their workers a fair wage. That's the first thing. And the second thing we have to do is resist this opportunity to cement a society that pays billionaires to be billionaires. Miss Rachel said, people need food. They don't need billionaires.
Every time I talk to you, I just realize when powerful voices speak like you do, people have to listen. And to that end, I want to ask you this question as we wrap up. And I look forward to having you back. We got to do this again before the year is out, because I kind of want to see how things play themselves out these next few weeks with your new role. So commit now that you'll come back before the end of the year, and we'll figure out how to do it, because I want you to be able to give a report so that people can continue to be inspired by what you're doing. But here's the last question. What would be your 1 minute message to the Democratic Party at large right now when it comes to taking back power on all levels, local, state, and federal?
I think what we have to do is use the word "and" more for the Democratic Party. We have to say that we need a legal strategy, and we need a midterm election strategy, and we need a mobilization strategy. We cannot continue to choose one or the other, deprioritize. We need both. And this is a moment to allow the voices that have been battling fascism for some time. Again, I tell the story of my grandparents leaving Jim Crow South, coming north. They came north because of Jim Crow and its fascism. So I know a thing or two about resisting fascism. I know a thing or two about overcoming fascism. I know a thing or two about fighting it. And so we have to find those warriors, those brilliant strategists, those people, and we got to listen to them. We have to set them up in spaces where we can begin to see our way through this very dark moment of American history. I'm sure we can do it. We've been here before as a country, and every time the righteous, the just, the people fighting for equity and justice, those are the people who've won the debate, and I expect the same result this time.
Stacy Davis Gates, I am just so thrilled to have you with us, and I'm going to continue to provide you with the support that I can in furthering your voice, because you are exactly one of those people that the light needs to be shed upon to continue down the path that you're going. Thanks for being with us this morning. It's my honor to have you again, and I look forward to talking to you before we wrap up 2025. Does that sound good?
I will be back anytime you call, and thank you, and continue to do the good work you're doing, because remember, nothing is safe with fascism, not even our airwaves, not even our newspapers. And so you keep doing what you're doing, and we got your back too.
All right, be well. Talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Let's take a quick break, Devin. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and 101 WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, the 200 and 515th Coast Artillery Companies from New Mexico stood resolute against overwhelming odds. Composed largely of Hispanic soldiers, these brave men were stationed in the Philippines, where they faced the brutal onslaught of Japanese forces. Despite their lack of supplies, American and Filipino forces managed to fight the Japanese for 3 months. However, this was not a victory for the American and Filipino forces. As the American Army surrendered in Bataan, the U.S. and Filipino prisoners of war were forced into the infamous Bataan Death March. A grueling 65-mile forced trek under the scorching sun, marked by extreme deprivation and harsh treatment. Sadly, 829 men were never able to return home. New Mexico's veterans of the Bataan Death March are honored each spring with the annual White Sands Bataan Death March Marathon. People from all around the world join together in the desert at the White Sands to participate in the anniversary of one of the most tragic casualties of World War II. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see partial sunshine developing here for today, a high around 60 degrees. Winds out of the east around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 45. Wednesday, sunny skies, high 56 degrees and breezy. Thursday, mostly sunny and a high around 56. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 48.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Stacy Davis-Gates for being with us. Listen, if you're having a moment and you need to be re-inspired, that's a voice that you should be listening to, that you should hear, is Stacy Davis-Gates. I said this oftentimes, and it's sort of my way of letting people know I'm not looking for our leaders to be perfect in any way. And I'm not, this purity test garbage we got to be done with that. We have to be behind the people, like she said in part, that are willing to carry the bucket of water. And you're going to spill. You ever done that, Devin? Carried a bucket of water across the yard? You spill some of it, don't you? But you don't spill it all. You get there and you pour it in the next thing and you go back and get some more. So we're going to spill the bucket. We're going to spill some of the water, you guys. We have to stop looking for politicians that can walk across this land that we're in, this minefield, and not spill any water. It's unrealistic. And the more we put people on the team that are going to spill some water but have the capacity to go back and get more and go back to the well and keep fighting, the better we're going to be. I believe that because it's realistic. And it's going to allow us to have more local leaders like this next guest that we have with us that decided that I'm tired. I'm going to do this my own and make it easy for folks in the Chicagoland area to do business with someone that puts something together that's local. It's important. It's health-driven. It's community-driven. And it's a way for us to tip our hat to someone that just said, you know, I'm going to do this. 40 Acres Fresh Market is founded in 2017, and it's just a cool place. And I literally found this. I was driving one day and I was like, oh my goodness, and then it like popped up on my notifications on social media. It's kind of weird. Sometimes you wonder, how does that happen? But the founder and owner operator of the business is with us this morning, Liz Abunaw. And I'm so excited to talk to you. I got to stop talking so I can let you talk. But Liz, good morning and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am smiling and feeling well and so glad to have you with us. And I'm excited to talk to you because you represent what is so important right now in our city, in our state, in our country, and that's ownership, business ownership, but specifically Black woman-owned businesses. And you have been a leader in this space. My goodness. Tell our audience, both here locally and all across the country that are listening, a little bit about you and a little bit about 40 Acres Fresh Market.
So the first thing I want to say is that 40 Acres Fresh Market is located at 5713 West Chicago Avenue, and we are open 8 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. every day. So that's the first thing I want to make sure I get
Let's check that box first, right?
Make sure everybody knows that. I've lived in Chicago since 2012. I came here for business school. I spent almost 10 years at General Mills in sales. So for better or worse, professionally, General Mills raised me. And what that means is that I worked pretty much in grocery. When you work in sales at a major food company, you're working with grocery stores. And I've worked with grocery stores across the country, from Minnesota to Florida, North Carolina, everywhere. And so when I see a problem in the world, I think that grocery is really the only tool in my tool belt. It's like that thing they say, you know, when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, gosh, it seems like this neighborhood doesn't have, like, that the customer in this neighborhood is not being serviced with basic goods and services. I know what'll fix it, a grocery store. And,
Here comes the hammer.
No, exactly. It's like grocery. And so, and I love a good grocery store.
Who doesn't?
And I do. I don't know what happened, but I think after 30, my idea of a good time flipped from like a club or a lounge to a good grocery store.
Liz, okay, all right. So we're going to shoulder up for a moment.
Okay.
My wife, I love her to death, and she brings tears to my eyes because she's a wonderful human being. But put a grocery store in front of her anywhere in the world, girlfriend can get down.
So much fun. There's so much to discover, and and when they smell good. Do you know a good coffee aisle? I will just sit in a good coffee aisle and just sniff.
Not if I'm there. I'm gonna push you out of the way.
No, and then there's prepared food, and then if they have samples, and it's so bright and vibrant, and the colors, and then I'm passing things, and I might have a list, but I love when the grocery store tells me what I need instead of me telling the grocery store what I need, and I come out with like a bunch of stuff I did not mean to buy. And don't let it have good in-store radio. I'm jamming in the aisles, like
pushing the cart, dancing with the cart. You could be all by yourself, and you got that groove going on with the cart. Man,
yes. Grocery stores are that spot. And so I wanted to create the store that I wanted to shop at because I didn't see Austin as a neighborhood that needed saving or like that was in need. I saw customers that weren't being serviced where they live. And I saw a wide swath of land that was just empty and devoid of stores. And I was like, we can fill in a gap here and hopefully intercept some of that grocery demand that's leaving the neighborhood and heading out into the suburbs or north or, you know, downtown near where people might work. And I was like, we can capture it right here, and we don't have to capture all of it. We just got to get, like, you know, maybe 10% of it, and we can have a sustainable store right here. And so then I just wanted to create something that people would want to go to and then want to return to over and over again.
And you've done that. I mean, food is a foundational part of us as a society, and right now, and I'm not going to drag you down the politics aisle just yet. I want to ask you.
Everything is political. There's nothing that's not political.
Ooh, okay, I'll reel myself back in because you're absolutely right. And I talk about this a lot, and I've had some friendships that have waned because they've said to me things like, I don't want to talk about politics. Politics is really not that important, and everybody's the same in politics. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're going to have some issues as we go forward. And a lot of this has come of late in the last 10 years because of our federal administration currently and the skipped one, the one before. And we know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Trump administration and what the federal government is doing to harm communities like the one that you are serving, if you will, with this wonderful grocery store. So, yes, it is. We are immersed in politics no matter how we look at it. How did you so that leads to this question I want to ask you. What were some of the challenges or, I don't know, realities of getting a grocery store in where it is located here in Chicago, on the west side of Chicago?
I think the first challenge is that I'd never done it before.
Okay.
So I was doing every single thing for the first time. And when you don't know what you don't know, you run into a lot. I mean, I still run into that with the operation of the store on a daily basis, and that's why it's good to be surrounded by people who do know what they're doing or know what you should be doing and can guide you. I mean, the first thing was like, okay, what's the location going to be? I want this store. I'm running pop-up markets. I'm running delivery service, but how do I get to a store? This isn't like, oh, you sell enough and then you'll have millions of dollars and you can build a store. It doesn't work like that. Like,
you got to build it and then just go.
Well, no, first it was like find a location. Then it was like raise the money. And I think part of why I was able to get to this point was just timing. If I had started 40 Acres 2 years earlier or 3 years later, and then had the same timeline, it wouldn't work out the way it's been working out.
So how were you able to thread that needle then with timing? Because that's so critical.
God, like so I had an idea back in 2016, but I was still employed. I worked for Microsoft, and Microsoft paid me very, very well, so I wasn't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And then in September of 2017, they had a corporate reorganization, and my job was eliminated. So with like thousands of others. So you might be seeing something going around social media about like black women fired from Microsoft, opened Chicago's only black-owned grocery store. I'm not fired. I was laid off with thousands of other people the same day. It happened. But they gave me a nice parachute. So that set me up to all of a sudden be able to even consider pursuing the idea that I had to maybe contemplate opening a store. But then from there, it's like, how do I get from nothing to an actual brick-and-mortar store? So I started with pop-up markets. I started with, and I just did monthly pop-up markets month after month after month for 6 months. And what that did was it gave me a proof of concept and it gave me a track record. And then all of a sudden, all of these funding sources started coming open. Now, typically, for small business, I always thought you had to get all these loans, and I was like, oh, God, that's going to be terrible. But all of a sudden, grant funding started opening up. And it was not just open to nonprofits, it was open to small businesses that were solving the issue of food access in specific neighborhoods. So an example of that is the American Heart Association Social Impact Fund. When they rolled it out in 2019 in Chicago, it was only for 3 zip codes. 2 of them were on the south side. One of them was 60651 on the west side. And I'm like, well, we do our pop-up markets in 60651, so we qualify. So let's apply. I can't duplicate that again because that fund, I don't even know if it exists anymore, if they're still like running, if it's still open for applications. And it was very zip code specific. So a lot of it is luck, and luck is just when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it too is also the vision, and you said God, mm-hmm. but I'm a firm believer that we put things out there into our wonderful universe, into our society, and we get mm-hmm. we get back something good. And your get back of good has also been one that's benefited the community, and the people that visit your store and the different articles and things that I've read just love the place. And I candidly, I was mm-hmm. Avoiding some traffic and decided mm-hmm. to get off the expressway. And for those of you who don't know Chicago's expressways, if you're outside of the city of Chicago, I was, coming inbound on the
Eisenhower?
The Eisenhower, and
no, it's the Eisenhower.
Eisenhower, right? And it hit gridlock, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna miss this traffic, and I meandered. I was like, and I blew by, and I was like, whoa, what was that?
And, it stands out, doesn't it, the building?
Yeah, and so I, in all honesty, I put it into Google at the next time I hit a stoplight. I just Googled mm-hmm. it, and then within a matter of days, it started to pop up. You started to pop up in my social media notifications, and so that's kind of how it happened. But people love your store; they just do. And it's people like I read articles about people, older folks walking to the neighborhood grocery store and meeting people in the store, and it's part of the community. And it goes back to what you said earlier, Liz, about grocery stores. But that's just been so neat to read about how folks in the community are in Austin and Garfield, North Lawndale, kind of the mayor's backyard, walk there.
Yeah.
And it's a part of their being now. How does that make you feel? What's the impact of that?
In the words of Jay-Z, that's the way it's supposed to be. So, I wanted to create a store that people can walk to. I actually live in West Town, and one of the things I love more than anything is walking in my neighborhood, walking to a coffee shop, walking to the grocery store, walking and then discovering something new that just opened, being able to walk and take my dry cleaning down the street. It's exercise, but it's just something about being outdoors and the sense of discovery and taking in the people and the places that are around you, that it's a feeling like none other. And so I wanted to contribute to being part of the infrastructure that made sure that every neighborhood in Chicago would have that freedom and that luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury to just, be able to walk down the street and grab the last ingredients of the dinner that you're making that night. And it's wonderful to meet people. We know people by name. And because they come in so often, there's a woman named Ms. Margaret, and she has shopped with us from our first week being open, and she's just wonderful. And I've learned about her and her kids and her late husband and all the things. And so you build those relationships. And I think as the world becomes more digitized and more technology driven, it becomes more impersonal. And so taking it back to those personal relationships is really a difference maker for people, because they forget how much they missed it until they have it again.
Yeah. We're talking with Liz Abunaw. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR in Warren County, North Carolina. Liz is the founder, owner-operator of 40 Acres Fresh Market at 5713 West Chicago Avenue in the great city of Chicago. Liz, it's great to have you with us this morning, and I look forward to us being able to talk again in the future. But we're coming up, let me ask one question first. The SNAP programs are obviously under attack by the federal government. And I want to get your take on that, and then how your store is a conduit to keeping people viable in the community.
Yeah. The SNAP cuts make me violently ragey. I have so many friends who, when we were in college, meal plans are expensive. So a lot of my friends at Cornell University in upstate New York had SNAP. Mm-hmm. I had SNAP for probably a month or two, but I forgot to recertify and I lost the benefits. But it's a lifeline, and this idea that people are this idea that we have to fight all this abuse. There's not all this abuse in the system, and in any system there's going to be some. If you know economics, there's some dead weight loss. But I'm not going to cut off millions because a couple of hundred might be taking advantage. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and it's just an excuse for cruelty. And now that we're facing people not having benefits, it's unconscionable, and it's you're making people choose between food and health care, trying to make lawmakers jump. It's a game of chicken that the party in charge should not be playing with people's lives. But, when you have a leader like Der Fuhrer, what do you expect? So what 40 Acres can do, what we've been actually done since the pandemic is something called a Get One, Give One. So the store opened in September, but we've been operating since 2018. Like I said, started with pop-up markets, moved to delivery service. And during the pandemic, we created this thing called a Get One, Give One box. And it's a produce box, and it allows customers to purchase additional produce that we then donate to organizations that do food distribution. So we don't do the food distributions ourselves. We are not a not-for-profit. We don't have a client list like that.
Right.
But we've partnered with a lot of organizations like A House in Austin or Westside Mutual Aid, and those go-go boxes go to them, and they make sure it gets to our neighbors that are experiencing food insecurity. And we're really going to push go-go's, especially, as this new month comes and the prospect of people losing SNAP benefits looms broadly. Also, we have been a link match acceptor, at least on our delivery side. And for the pop-up markets, still can't take link match in store yet. We're working through that. We do take link, but we don't have link match in store. But for our delivery service, there's link match, which is huge because when people buy our produce boxes, we swipe the link card, and then we give them back these link match coupons that they can use to buy additional produce. And so people you have your link match coupons, the green universal one, we can accept that from anywhere. So if you have them from the farmer's market or you have them from us, you can go online and, purchase a produce box and use your link match to pay for it. At the store, stuff does go out of date, but it's still edible and not sellable. So we work with food rescue organizations. Like there's a Love Fridge in Austin, and they come and they pick up the things that can't be sold and put them in the Love Fridge in Austin. So we tried those different ways in order to kind of fill in the gap while also at the same time understanding hey, we're a business, so our focus isn't food insecurity, but we can partner with organizations to make sure that food isn't wasted, food isn't being thrown out when it can go to a good home for somebody to eat. And then also use our business as a way to drive not only our revenue, but drive good food, good nutritious food to people who need it. Because often with pantries, they get a lot of shelf-stable items, but they don't always get a lot of produce. So for us to be able to supplement that with the go-go boxes and with produce has been major for many organizations and families.
Liz, I just this is so cool, and there's a couple of things I want to say. One is both of them are favors or an ask. The first one is we've got to figure out a way to kind of have you on with some regularity as an update, particularly right now with what's going on with our federal government's war on cities, specifically Chicago, and war on food, war on SNAP, and humanity. So we will definitely have you back on the show again sooner than later to talk about the get one, give one, if I've got that right, in the Go-Go's, because that's important. That is a lifeline to folks, and if there's ever one needed, it's right now. So I want to make sure that we amplify that work as best possible. That's the first sort of statement / question to you about having you back on. The second thing is this. I'm going to find a way to get out there to see you at some point, and I know we've got each other's contact information, and come out to the store. Because as I blew by it, I didn't stop in, but now the time to come in. I
was gonna ask that. I was like, you missed a step.
I know, but I'm gonna back up and fix that, and I'm gonna bring with me someone who definitely will want to meet you, and that's my wife, so we can share that moment. But thank you so much for what you're doing, and I say that because of the impact that it's having in the community, but broader. I think that the nation has to look at this type of leadership from someone that's a business owner and say, yeah, we can do things differently and we can do them better for the communities that we're in. Holidays are in front of us right now, and I got to do a little plug for you because if I understand things correctly, you're going to have fresh Thanksgiving turkeys. Is that correct?
Oh my gosh, yes. So it's our first, since the store's first year, we honestly don't have prior year numbers to go on, but we pre-ordered a limited number of fresh turkeys from Peacock Poultry Farms in Troy, Michigan, so relatively local. And we're bringing them in, and we're selling them on pre-order only. So turkeys are $3.49 a pound. It is on our website. If you're on desktop, we're just tweaking the mobile version, so that should be up in like another hour when I finish that. And you can pre-order your Thanksgiving turkey online. It's a $25 deposit for the turkey, and then you pay the balance when you pick it up in store, and we weigh it at the register. And so it's a great way to support like our local food ecosystem, as well as get, you know, a really great, fresh, no hormones, no preservatives, you know, great fresh turkey for your Thanksgiving meal.
Fantastic, fantastic. Liz, thank you so much for being with us this morning, and I will make sure that we get you back on and, of course, make my way out there so that we can meet you and chat. But thanks again, Liz, for your leadership.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your passion about taking care of the communities that we live in and that we serve. Appreciate you. We'll have you back on again soon. Sound good?
Sounds perfect.
All right. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Wow, guys. How about that? Liz is just that person that we all kind of aspire to be. And I'm glad that we were able to have her with us this morning. And thanks to Stacy Davis-Gates for being one of those other voices this morning, and Rocky as well. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stephanie Miller.
I get to say my favorite sentence in the entire world. Here comes Kathy Griffin, hero of democracy. Hello.
How are we going to do this? Because I know we're both going to want to talk at the same time because it's a love fest. I am so in love with you. You are so important and wonderful and funny and brilliant, and you are who I aspire to be.
No, you.
When I grow up, I want to be you.
No, you.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
At Bank of America, we asked our teammates, what makes this company a great place to work?
There's very little that you can't accomplish working for Bank of America.
If you prove yourself, you can try over in a totally new way.
You can learn so much here. You're the owner of your career.
See how our teammates are growing in their careers at bankofamerica.com/great place to work. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates, other insurers, not available in all states or situations.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Let's see if we can shop blue and slay by looking at clothing brands that support the Democratic Party. Nike. Now, yes, Nike's co-founder is very Republican. However, the other 83% of the company supports the Democratic Party. $894,000 in 2024. Dior. Now, Dior does not give to politics, but some of their employees do, and 84% of their donations went to Democrats in 2024. Adidas. Adidas also does not give to politics, but a lot of their employees do, as 96%